Hi, Udemates. I'm Shelly Osborne, VP of Learning here at Udemy. Last week, we shared some tips and best practices with you as we tested a work from home day on Friday. And now that we're going into a longer period of working from home, I wanted to share a few more tips and best practices that I've gathered as I've worked from home. I actually did it for 3 years right before I joined Udemy, and I learned a lot about productivity and efficiency, and I'd love to share some of that with all of you. Now, what does that look like? Well, that's this course. We created this today on Sunday, and I'm going to have that available for you all on Monday. And how cool is that? That's amazing that our product allows me to do that and share this all with you so quickly. But I do want to point out that means that the graphics are going to be pretty terrible because there aren't any. So this isn't quite as fancy as some of the other courses you've seen from my team. And I'm sure you'll tell me all about how terrible they are, but it's really important that I have some visuals to make sure that there's some accessibility and folks who benefit from having a heading or a title. I've got that for you here. Now, one other thing I want to say before I get started is that the People team, we are here to support you. If you need anything during this time, please reach out to us in our Help HR Slack channel or the Help COVID-19 Slack channel, and we'll answer questions as quickly as we can. Now, with that, let's get started with all of the work from home best practices and tips I learned along the way. And my first just fabulous visual. Look at that. Look at that. Fancy, right? First thing here is to talk about amping up your communication, like big time, folks. So what does that look like? Well, be available. You must be reachable via multiple forms of communication. That's not just one, and actively engaged in the Slack channels that your team uses, but also your work as per your normal working hours and also your obligations. So please keep on top of that. Check in more frequently than you normally would with your manager, but also with your teammates, not just with your manager, also with your teammates. And share any sort of scheduling requirements you may have or any offline time with the people that you're working with so that they know when you're going to be available and when you're going to be offline. Up next, say hello and wave, be right back. Because really, a part of amping up your communication is making sure that you are chatting with your teammates and connecting with them regularly. So just like you would in the office, start your day by saying good morning or hello in your team's water cooler or team channel. Connect with the regular Udemy water cooler and SF water cooler and Dublin water cooler channels and Ankara general and all these. Connect with others. And since people don't know if you have left your desk to go make lunch or if you're running a longer errand, let them know on Slack when you won't be reachable and let them know when you'll be back. And you can also do that really effectively by using the Slack status updates. That can be really, really helpful in a time where we're working from home. Up next, be a meeting superhero. I know at Udemy we have Meeting Hero, but we are going to have to meet even more than we used to. And in Meeting Hero, we actually tell you to try to have less meetings. Well, when you're working from home, it's really important to connect with people directly. It's a fact that it's just harder to have conversations and connect with people remotely. So I'd encourage you to have more meetings, to think about when you need to connect with one another and what that needs to look like. Managers, consider setting up a daily or a weekly stand-up on Zoom with your teams. I really do recommend daily if possible, but weekly might work better for you to maintain a sense of connection and collaboration. And for those face-to-face conversations that you normally have, a Zoom meeting is just as good. Please don't shy away from having a 3-minute or a 5-minute Zoom call. They're really easy to get going, and there's a lot of nonverbal cues that come out in a face-to-face conversation that's aided by doing it over Zoom. And in this world, Slack is definitely your friend. Connect with folks in all of the work-related channels that you belong to and follow those closely, but also find those social channels that you love, like the dogs channel, or maybe like I'm going to be more active in my Canadian Udamates channel as we're working from home more to maintain that sense of connection with my colleagues. I also love one of my favorite tips, something we did as a remote team was a virtual sort of happy hour. And we would sometimes do that as like a true happy hour with wine, but we'd also do it as an opportunity to have coffee or tea. We threw a birthday party that way one time and we all had cupcakes. It's a really great way to connect and just make it about being social. This can be something you do ad hoc, or it could be something that you schedule and have a regular cadence of. You'll know what's right for you and your team, and I recommend you checking with them to figure out what's the right fit for you all. But I have to tell you, it was one of the most impactful things that we did as a remote team. Okay, up next, meeting all the Udamates, all of them. They're just gonna meet them all. Okay. That's crazy. There's too many. We've been hiring so many humans. There's no way we can meet all the Udamates this quickly. But it's really important to remember that as we add new Udamates, which we will inevitably onboard some folks during this time, to make sure that they feel that the Udemy love and the connection that we are all so fond of. So managers, make sure you really help them connect with others. Udamates, really open your arms and, as you always do, welcome those folks to Udemy and connect with one another. A great way to do this is our fun Coffice Hours Slack channel. If you haven't checked it out, it's pretty cool. It actually has a bot in it that will pair you with a random other person in the channel so that you can be paired up to have a Coffice hour. So I recommend checking that out, but then now having a virtual Coffice hour with anyone anywhere in the world. So like I said, it's fun-coffice-hours, H-O-U-R-S, and you just join the channel and the bot starts pairing you. So I'll see you there, hopefully. It's a really cool thing. Up next, be accountable. So how can we be accountable in our work from home world? Well, this really asks all of us to commit and follow through on your work responsibilities, regardless of our location that we're doing our work. This might mean you have to avoid some of those distractions that really pull you in at home. That could be social media, it could be your friends dropping by. I mean, inevitably something's going to drop on Netflix that we all want to binge and it'll be calling our names. So we have to be careful of those things. And another thing to think about is don't be a Slack addict either. I know I said Slack is your friend. It can sometimes be your enemy, sometimes. Use the silence notifications tool. It's up in the far left corner. You could silence notifications for any period of time. Instead of just spending your entire day triaging Slack and responding to all the messages, that can be pretty overwhelming and it can keep you from getting any other work done. Believe me, this has happened to me. So I recommend silencing notifications from time to time so that you can focus on your work as well. As we talk about a tool like Slack, we also have to think about how we use the right tools. Be proactive with using project management and communication tools when working from home. So, for example, entering your projects into Asana and keeping them up to date, making suggestions and leaving comments in any of the Google Docs that you're participating in, as well as any of the other tools that your team happens to be using for collaboration and work. Take advantage of whatever features they have that support distributed teams and collaboration for those groups. There's a lot of great features that make it easier to use and make it easier for us to connect and collaborate and not get stuck in silos. And I said it before, but I'm going to say it again. Please don't be afraid to just jump on a quick Zoom call. The text communication only goes so far, so leverage Zoom, jump on a video chat. It's super, super important. It just helps us connect with one another. It's really, really, really useful. It helps us also just maintain the velocity and collaboration of our projects. So that means we have to make sure that Zoom is set up correctly. So I'm going to ask everybody right now to do sort of an audit of your calendar. So pause me after, in a second, not quite yet, but pause me and go check out your calendar and look at all your meetings for this week and your recurring meetings and make sure that they have a Zoom link. And let me tell you, I know that they do not all have Zoom links because I've been to some meetings lately where there was not a Zoom link for me to join and I had to try and figure it out. And you've all been there. You've been there where it's like, what's the link? What's the code? What's the number? Is this a video call? Should I be phoning you? Like you don't know what to do. So please, please, please pause me now. Pause and then go into your calendars and make sure that all of your invites have the ones that you own, that they have Zoom links, and reach out to the folks who haven't added a Zoom link to make sure that they have it added in. It's a huge productivity hit when we spend the first 10 minutes of a meeting just trying to join the meeting. So please, please, please pause me, go do that now. And if you need any help, our fabulous IT team set up a great wiki page that has a Zoom user guide with videos and how-to sheets and Q&A and FAQs and all the stuff. So please go check it out. They also created a Help Zoom Slack channel where I mean, they respond in like 20 seconds to any questions we have, it seems. And the Udemy Work From Home Issues channel is a great place to get help there too. Okay, next. When you're setting up your Zoom, also, hey, don't hide behind the avatar. This one is huge, folks. It's a big, big deal. Keep your video on whenever possible, and it should almost always be possible. I know that working from home, I'm guilty of this too. Sometimes we dress a little more casually and we're not exactly camera ready. Well, I'm going to encourage everybody to be camera ready, whatever that means for you, and turn on your camera. Your voice is just one of 100 ways that you're communicating with your coworkers, and keeping your camera on, it increases your communication bandwidth. It allows you to communicate much more clearly. There's a lot of facial expression. There's just a lot of context that comes through us being on video, and it's all important and it all counts. So to make sure that that's possible, I recommend putting about 30 or so minutes into just thinking about your environment and where you're going to be on camera. Are you comfortable with what's going to be behind you? Do you need to add more lights? What do you need to do to make this work for you? So give that some thought, think it through, and make sure that you're prepared to come on camera. On the people team, we actually have this as a rule that everyone has to come on camera. Now, if they can't, we just ask that people tell us why they can't. If there's a really good reason, please let us know. That's fine, but that context is also helpful because it can be actually awkward to join a meeting where everyone else has their cameras off and you're the only one, and it just makes it difficult. And one more reason that this is really important, having the cameras on is actually a huge accessibility issue. There may be colleagues on your team who rely on reading lips to understand what's being said and communicated. And we are always striving to make Udemy the most inclusive place possible. So we ask that as much as possible, please, please, please turn on your cameras. Thank you. Now, as we think about our workspace a little bit and the video, we also need to think about our day and how to structure it. So planning and structuring our workday is a lot of how we think about those video calls. But we also need to think about how we think about our working hours. So set up and keep your working hours just like you do when you go into the office. That's really helpful for a feeling of normalcy. It's great for your mental health. And group your meetings as much as you can to maximize your time and avoid interruption during focused project work. So if you can just slam all the meetings together so that you have an hour or 2 or 3 to work on projects, that's really, really helpful. I've said it, taking breaks helps your productivity. It's very, very useful. So stand, stretch, walk around, do what you need to do, but give your brain time to rest. That's actually better for it. And as a part of that, as we think about your brain resting, we need to think about taking breaks and setting boundaries. So working from home tends to blur the lines a bit on when you start and when you stop working. You know, we all put in extra hours. I'm not going to try and hide that. We all have to work extra from time to time. That's just how it kind of is. But when we don't have the office vibe and a shared space with interruptions, there's nothing sort of checking you or having you check yourself against it. And you can end up in a flow that goes on and on and on. So take care of yourself. It's really easy to go many hours without a break, and that's not healthy. Set a timer is one of the best tips I've figured out. Like, you set a timer for a certain amount of time you're willing to work, and then as soon as that timer goes off, you force yourself to take a break. I also really like blocking breaks into my calendar when I work from home and putting that as sort of a calendar invite for myself. Get up, get out. I really recommend fresh air. Like I said before, this is super, super helpful with your productivity. Next up, set ground rules with the people and pets, I guess, and the plants maybe, I don't know, in your space. Let the people that you are sharing a living space with know that you're working from home, and set clear rules for how to interact with you during that work time. Now, that may not be super easy if you don't have a dedicated workspace, but even just having a conversation to set expectations with partners, roommates, children, family members, those pets, they probably won't listen, but hey, you can try, so that they at least understand what your work from home looks like, is very, very useful. It can stem off some conflict early instead of it coming up later. It's also helpful because, at least this happened to me when I worked from home, sometimes non-work responsibilities start to encroach on your life when you're at home. And I remember I used to have all these Canadian visitors who'd just show up and expect me to be able to take them around and tour them around when I was really working. And that's one example, but there may be expectations of doing household chores or whatever when you really are trying to do your work. So if you can have those conversations, it's helpful. It sort of gets ahead of any issues that you might have. As a part of that, it's really useful to set up your space in a way that's really helpful to your working style, but be open to switching it up. This one was probably the biggest thing I learned and the most helpful. So try to find a space at home that's comfortable, ergonomically sound, and distraction-free for working. And if you're lucky, that might mean a dedicated office space, and that might mean you have to carve out a corner in the living room. There's a lot of options, and I understand that everyone's living situation is different. So take stock of your situation and what the best case scenario is for you. If it's possible, I do recommend that separate space set away from anybody else that you share a home with or from the main living space, because it's easier to draw the boundary between work time and home time. But also be mindful, if you are working in lots of different places in your home, of creating those boundaries for your working spaces. One thing I just adamantly just recommend is to not work from bed. And it might seem appealing. I mean, your bed is warm and cozy and, why not? What's the worst that can happen? Well, there's many studies that have shown that when you work from your resting place, your sleeping place, it's difficult to disassociate work from rest and then it becomes difficult to sleep, which is obviously really unhealthy. So if you can, don't work from your bedroom, don't work from your bed. It's best to kind of set that away and be able to have that line drawn between those two spaces. But also create opportunities for you to work in different spots. I primarily worked from my home office, but it was also nice to mix it up and work at the kitchen table sometimes, or work from the couch. Although sometimes those are less ergonomically sound and not as good for you if your posture or your back. Making me want to sit up straighter right now, but yeah, it can be really helpful to have a different environment. It can inspire creativity or a different kind of working vibe that you want. So try it out, mix it up. It can also be nice to not be just stuck in one place. And if you do have an office chair that works great for you, use that. Maybe steal it from your housemates, but also be thoughtful about the chair that you're sitting in and your posture and all of those things, as well as the basically the screen time, and setting your settings to the night shift, so that when you are looking at your screen, you're not getting that sort of the blue glare that's really, really bad for us, and giving your eyes a break and being thoughtful about eye health as well. All of these things, so many things are important. And as I say that, I do want to point out, we do have one top priority here, both as a company, as a leadership group, but also as individuals. Your health and your safety are our top priority, absolutely. So one thing to just point out, this is, I'm not going to deny it, it's a challenging time. I think we all know that. And no one should feel like they need to go through this alone. We have lots of different support systems, from Ginger.io and Headspace to mental health providers through our local insurance plans. We offer a number of benefits to support mental well-being. And if you have any questions about any of these, or if you have an additional need for support, please reach out to your people partner and they'll get you connected with the resources that you need. I'll also recommend that our benefits team is available to answer questions about your specific benefits and the resources that are available to us. You can reach out to these groups through our Help HR Slack channel, and you can reach our benefits team directly at benefits@udemy.com with any private or confidential questions as well. So please, please, please reach out to us if you need. A couple other health tips to think about: go outside if you can and that's available to you. A little fresh air and natural light can give you a huge mood boost. I experienced this when I worked from home. Oh, and this one, stay hydrated. I was terrible at this, and I'm going to be better this time. It can help to keep some beverages just near where you're working so that you're not sort of going hours without having a drink. And eating, it can be really easy to skip meals, especially when we're being more sedentary than normal. I would often find myself, it would be like 3 p.m. and I would suddenly realize I hadn't stopped for a drink or a snack. So don't be like me. Like that's the lesson there. Be the opposite of Shelley on that one. I've gotten a lot better, but it was terrible. And also eat your meals away from your work area. It's easier than you might think to just sit and eat in front of your computer all the time, and that's not giving yourself a break. So please eat your meals away from your workstation. Now, I have a couple other tips for the managers that I think are also relevant for the individual contributors, so stay tuned, ICs. 4 quick tips to help your teams manage a remote world. And these are pretty basic stuff. But the first thing is really just establish ground rules with your team. And I mean that with your team. I think that's really helpful so that everyone has some agency in what this looks like. and determine how you will interact. And then communicate, 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 and then communicate some more. Context is queen in this world, and we in this remote world, we need as much context as possible to understand what's going on. So please overshare the information, like share it multiple ways. Don't hesitate to add additional context and offer to meet again with your team to talk about things that you've already talked about, just to make sure everyone's clear. Another important thing to consider is to remember that your team will react differently to the situation. Some folks will probably feel really isolated and anxious, and some might be really excited and jazzed about the prospect of working from home and not having to commute, or getting to prepare food at home is exciting. So just recognize that, and recognize that that can change too. They could start out feeling one way about it, and that could shift. So check in more than once, ask questions, and listen. And another thing to consider is trust your team. Work from home kind of gets a bad rap. People think that it often equates to a lower productivity. And I mean, I know the Udemates that we have around the world, and I can't see that happening, but the way to make sure that you're really, really clear about this is by starting with crystal clear expectations and being really articulate with your teams about what you expect, what the goals are, what the OKRs are, and what they can do. And then, you've heard this from me before too, it's about feedback. Expectations go to follow-up, and then feedback is fuel. And it's even more important in a world where we're working remotely and it's harder to connect with one another, that as managers and leaders, we double down here and we make sure we have those crystal clear expectations, we follow up, and we give great feedback, and we give it regularly. So work harder at this than you normally would. Now, that's all the tips I had. I really just want to thank you all for joining me in this course, Udemates. I know, like I said before, this is a challenging time, and we're all figuring it out as we go. We really are. So my final ask is, let's have some compassion for one another. Let's do our best to support and help one another. And please ask for help when you need it. The People team is here to support you in any way we can. And your managers and leaders are also here to do the same. I hope to see many of you on Slack and Zoom, maybe in our fun Coffee Hours channel. And otherwise, I hope you have a great work from home week, and let me know if I can support you in any way with additional tips and best practices for your teams or individuals on how to work from home. Have a great week, everybody.